Hey, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be starting a new sketchbook. I finally finished my other one. I love looking at the difference between an old and a new one and how chunky the old ones get. So, starting a new one today. The first thing I like to do when starting a new sketchbook is pick a few stickers to put on the cover. And over time, I love making a little sticker collage on my cover using stickers that I accrue over the course of time that I use it. But I like to make that a process. I don't like to put them all down at once. So the ones that I'm starting with, the first one of the pink-haired woman was a monthly patron award for I'm a Wonder, and the other two stickers I made myself. Next, I like to decorate the inside cover and make almost a welcome page to welcome myself into my sketchbook and set a theme. Not a theme, but I just like to have a welcome page. This is the first time I'm doing it really intentionally, one solid illustration, and I was really happy with the theme that I chose. One of my favorite movies, and definitely my favorite superhero movie, is Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse. So I took the graffiti that he did on the sewer wall at some point in the movie and switched it up a little bit to say sketchbook, and I think it's a really fun introduction to this new book for me. Into the Spiderverse is definitely my favorite superhero movie. I've always been a fan of Spider-Man. I think a lot of superhero fans are, just because of the nostalgia of the Tobey Maguire movies. But if you know me, you know that I love a good old animated film. I think that, give me a good animation over a live action any day, because I love art and I love seeing the different styles that people choose to do things. And Into the Spider-Verse just was so unique looking. It super had that comic book vibe where I felt like I was just watching a comic book that came to life, and it was incredibly fun. It was hilarious, but it was also just extremely motivational in a way that you want superhero movies to be. I think that's also why Spider-Man hits home for so many people, is that he's never fighting aliens or outer space, except in, Infinity War. But in his stories, he's the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He's just a normal high school kid who just wants his town to be better, and he goes through a lot of difficulties to try and get that, which feels so much more relatable than these extremely cool otherworldly beings. I'm using the Plumchester big square sketchbook from the Art Snacks shop. It's a pretty good one. It's my second time buying this size, and I had bought the smaller one previously. As my style evolves, I don't know if I'm gonna buy this one again, partly because as I've gotten more and more into watercolor, I notice that I don't use it as much, and use just my watercolor papers a lot more. But I do love alcohol markers and collaging and occasionally sketching, which this sketchbook does perfectly for. It also holds gouache pretty well. If you use a ton of water, it can really bend the papers a little bit, but I don't personally mind if my sketchbook gets a little bit bent, because I'm not making perfect illustrations. I'm usually just experimenting. So it works with those, and I actually like how it holds gouache. I just think that the texture ends up being a little bit nice. Today I'm using Ohuhu alcohol markers. I don't remember what set I have. one of their basic smaller sets. I also have their skin tone set, but obviously I didn't use that for this. I have a couple of Copics that I use for like just achieving slightly different hues here and there, but I like Ohuhu markers. They are my alcohol marker of choice. Well, if I had like unlimited money, then that might not be the case, but I think Ohuhu markers are fantastic for their, not even for their price. I think that they're a great marker and they're also a good price. So here I'm just filling in like the different details along the back. Since I'm using alcohol markers, it's not a medium that you can layer with. Well, you can, but I mean, it won't turn out like very well. It'll just be like a darker version of whatever the original color was. But if you want like different colors, you have to block them out and color them in separately because it's a marker and not, paint. So right now I'm just going through and filling in those details before starting the background, which I start here. But part of why I chose this graffiti piece, I thought about doing, if you've seen Into the Spiderverse. If you haven't, I cannot recommend it enough. It's a wonderful movie and it like really touches a soft spot in my heart. But I thought about choosing a scene. It's beautiful. I might paint it later with gouache in this sketchbook, of when Miles Morales is like in his Spider-Man costume that he like his official one, when he's wearing it for the first time and like falling between buildings in like slow motion. I thought about putting that as the cover with like maybe Sketchbook in the clouds somehow, but I think I'm just gonna paint that. Partly why I ended up going with this one was just because I wanted to use alcohol markers and I loved how pink the graffiti was. I like pink. Now that I'm looking at it, this is a very Nadia color palette because I also like orange and blue a lot. All it's missing is purple, and then it would really be, I think if the yellow was instead some kind of purple, this would really be a Nadia color palette. So it's as simple as that at some point I wanted to make something in honor of the graffiti that he did in the movie, and I liked the colors, so I was like, oh, instead of no expectations, I'll just put Sketchbook. Also in the upper left corner, I put the date that I started this. As you can see, I made this video well in advance. It's not August anymore. But I do like to put the date that I start, and then in the end, I'll put the date that I finish. And it's just a nice way to, instead of dating every single sketch, because I don't care when I did a random doodle, but I do want to know the time frame of just okay, this random doodle that I did was sometime between August 2021 and August 2022, for example. I want to say which of the amazing Spider-Verse characters was my favorite, but honestly I loved them all so much, and honestly Miles Morales is my son, and for that reason he is absolutely my favorite. I think it's really boring to pick the main character as your favorite in different franchises just because it feels so obvious, and yet in this one it feels hard to do anything else because he's such a sweet cinnamon bun, and I just find him so precious, and I just want him to do well in this world. And in the end, when he finally finds his confidence, is just a cherry on top of my emotions. But I am curious, if you have a favorite superhero or superhero movie or character in that movie, I would love to hear who it is. I've basically seen every major superhero movie that has been made. I think it's probably safe to say that I've seen every superhero made since what year? Probably like 2007, and a few of the ones before that. So, I would love to hear in that time frame. Do you have a favorite superhero? Because, I have plenty. But I think my overall one is my sweet little spider son. Okay, so now I'm adding some details with a paint marker. I'm using the Plumchester paint markers, also from the Art Snacks shop, and they're not my favorite paint markers that I've used. I don't know why exactly. They're not, there's just something about them. I think that they come out looking a little bit waxier than I want, and they tend to run out of, or the ones that I have, the ink has gotten a bit stiffer faster, but I do have a few of them, so I use them because they're not bad. They're just not my favorite. But anyway, so here's the finished result. Thanks for watching me start a new sketchbook, and I'll catch you in the next video.